So I've tried to make it one of my goals this year to stay on top of weeds better, because these beds last year got so overgrown with weeds that it really just choked out the strawberries, and that's not good. So I've been using this stirrup hoe. It's one of my favorite tools, to be honest, and it can basically just chop at the shallow roots and kill little weeds. So it's not great for huge weeds, but these weeds that are just springing up here in the spring, it's perfect for just easily getting those chopped at the roots. Spring is definitely here. You can see it all around. There's fruit trees blooming. We have the apple trees, the blueberries, strawberries. We have just flowers all around the property that are coming in bloom. The bees are out. It's just really a magnificent time, and it's easy to get caught up in the busyness of it, but I like to just stop and enjoy some of it sometimes. Now, if you were here for the last video, you know that we took a couple propagations, and I wanted to just update you on them because they are doing amazing. You know, we used no rooting hormone, and they are just doing great. I mean, we have the curly or corkscrew willow going on here, and it is just completely rooting in. I can't even lift it out anymore. The Rose of Sharon is doing great as well. It's budding out here. We have the oregano also doing great. And the willow, weeping willow here, as expected, is also rooting in. I also took some other propagations off camera. I split some phlox ground cover just to have. I also took some of this. This is a vine that I have on the side of the chicken coop. It has like white flowers. I do not know the name, but it's easy to propagate. I took a bunch of hydrangea cuttings. I haven't propagated hydrangea before, so it'll be interesting to see what this does. I also took just a couple as a pure experiment of the crab apple that is budding out over yonder, and it is hopefully rooting. It'd be interesting to see if that can root. I also split a couple of the hosses that I have over there, which are starting to come up. 1, 2, 3 hosses coming up there, and these were split from my grandma's house a couple years back, and they just grow super fast. They like some shade here, which this Confederate rose will provide. I'm gonna have to cut this back here soon, and it'll regrow from the bottom. Looks like we have one tulip here blooming, and that's just because tulips are an annual in our area. I think that was planted about 2 years ago. There were 100 bulbs, and they just don't pop back up. I wanted to show you guys this over here, though. As you can see, there's these little seedlings popping up sporadically in places, and that's actually from these hellebores over here. As you can see, there's more seedlings popping up, and that's just really cool to see. Hellebores, they like full shade. This is their time to bloom, but I'm kind of treating them like a ground cover back here. It'll be really cool just to see them spread. They have really interesting flowers. This might be some right here too. Now for today's main project is going to be planting some potatoes. I found these bags in Tractor Supply yesterday when I was getting some pig food, and I thought, why not? I was going to plant some this year anyways, so I just went ahead and got them. And I grew potatoes once in my life 2 years ago. I didn't grow any last year, and I got pretty good harvest from it, but it was just a tiny little patch, so I'd like to do a lot more this year. So I have 2 different kinds of potatoes, Yukon Gold and Rosette Noricata. Cannot say it. But we're going to get these both planted today. So I'm going to split these up with the eyes, show you how to do that, and we're going to get going. Now, when I say we're going to split some eyes, I'm not talking about literal eyes, but what's called the eyes on a potato. And it's basically every little spot where a sprout would come out of is called an eye. And I just knocked one off, but that's all right. So come up close, you can see this, and this is already sprouting, but this is an eye, little eye here. There's an eye. Boom, boom, pow, ka-chow. Basically, a potato can grow from each eye. So all you need is one eye per piece, and you can plant that in the ground and it'll produce. to maximize the yield that we can get from these potatoes, I'm going to split at each eye, at least 1 or 2 eyes per piece of this potato, and that's what we're going to be planting today. Just like that, I split this piece of potato. It has this 1 eye on here. Just like that, this 1 seed potato became 5 seed potatoes that I can now plant out there. And because I'm pressed on time, because I only have the weekend here before school starts and everything, I want to plant these out this weekend. And so you can leave these out in the sun or just anywhere for a bit to kind of let this part dry, this flesh, so it doesn't really get bacteria when you plant it. But I'm just going to let them dry out here for a couple hours, and I'll plant them this afternoon, and that should be good enough. All right, I've got them all cut up now. I've got at least 1 to 2, maybe even 3 on some eyes per piece of these seed potatoes. I have the Yukon Gold and then the Rosette type over here. And I'm just going to let these dry out now for a couple hours. You can see they're already starting to kind of turn. You can see all these eyes on here. And even there's some that don't look like they have eyes. For instance, right here. They don't have the growth yet, but there's eyes on there, and they will grow from there. All right, so I've got to get the tiller attached in order to plant these potatoes. We don't have a little hand tiller, which would be really ideal. This is the only tiller that we have, so it is just fine. So I have to get the hay spear attachment off of the tractor to get this on. But first I had to get the cows some hay. I must say that would have been a lot easier with an extra set of hands. I didn't want cows escaping, which has happened before, and that was fun, crowding them back in the pen. But I got them their hay, and now it's time to get this. Before I impale myself, now to prep the area that I'm doing these potatoes in, this is the former kind of no-dig area of the garden. If you don't know what I'm talking about, if you remember back to just some old videos, I used to have 3 basically no-dig beds here. And I love no-dig, I love the method, but as you can see, it's just not working out right now because I haven't kept up adding the compost on top. And that's just because I haven't made enough compost. I want to have enough for making all of my seedlings and potting stuff up. That's where my compost is going towards, not this. So this is still a very rich area soil-wise, just because it has all of this existing compost beds. And so this is just going to get all tilled in now. I'm only going to till in this area right here today to do the potatoes in, and then the rest of the garden, of course, goes all the way down there. And I didn't do a cover crop this year. It's probably one of my biggest regrets, because a cover crop is not one of my biggest regrets, but it's something I wish I had really done, because it has so many benefits, just tilling in the spring, adding nutrients, and it helps hold erosion, stuff like that. I really wish I had done that this year, but it never happened. This is my little yarrow patch, and this was all started from seed 2 years ago, and it's just unbelievable how much it's spread. And when it flowers, it sends its seeds everywhere, and they're just popping up everywhere. I mean, you can see all the way in here, over here, all in there. And so there were a couple big chunks that I already transplanted out of here where it's about to get tilled and just moved around to other parts of the garden. I added a little patch over here in the corner, and this should just fill in and spread, hopefully, this whole corner, which lacks color right now. Well, I finally had help from an extra set of hands, and we have the tiller on here. And I'm just going to till this one portion of the garden here behind me because I don't need the whole garden tilled quite yet. So this will just be the area for the potatoes. I have some onions, and then other spring crops such as lettuce and the other greens, which I have still growing underneath the grow lights. So we are going to get this tilled here. All right, here we go. I'm mic'd up. Can you hear me? I have a mic. This is really cool. All right. Hard navigating such a big piece of equipment through this little small area, but got it pretty good. Time to plant some tomatoes. Potatoes. Tomato, potato, tomato, potato. Potatoes, we're planting potatoes. I'm going to do them, I have rows 3 feet wide of each other, and I'm going to plant the potatoes about 1 foot spacing from each other in these rows. Okay guys, that is 1, 2, 3.5 rows of potatoes. First 2 rows are Yukon Gold. The other 2 are the Rosette, whatever that name was. And that's more of a mental note for myself to look back on because I am not labeling these rows. So I'm gonna have to remember what I planted there. I have lots of stuff going on in the grow lights, about to be moved out in the greenhouse here. And these potatoes, I am not putting water on them yet. I'm going to put water on them probably in the next week or so. Once I see them start to sprout up, the ground is really moist and we've had a lot of rain lately, so I know they're fine. I don't want to rot them out or anything. Hopefully all this work pays off and we get a good harvest because I want some baked potatoes, French fries, mashed potatoes, sauteed potatoes, however all you do it. I like potatoes. I'm also going to mention that as these sprout, I'm going to be adding on layers of straw and organic matter on top just as they grow up. And this is just to make sure that as the potatoes grow underground, they're not getting basically like sun bleached. So we're making sure that they stay underground as they grow. So just by doing that, I'm going to keep mounding up on top as they grow. But for now, I have about 2 or 3 inches of soil on top of these, so they're going to be great. Thank you all for watching this hopefully not too boring video. I try to make it at least a little entertaining for you. I mean, I know this isn't very exciting stuff to you, but it's a little exciting to me. I'm ready to be out here planting. So I will see you guys next week.